Good morning, New Day broadcast listeners. We are getting close to the end of the semester and end of the podcast. Again, I want to thank you for all of your support, likes, viewing videos, sharing videos. A few people I want to thank personally, Rhonda Johnson in California. She always shares the videos with other people. A few of my classmates have shown their support and actually even helped me with some of the videos. And so on today, I just wanted to close out this week on sexual assault, just sharing a little information about what I've learned over the week, what I've been able to pull from different reports. It's very interesting to me that less than 60% of people who are sexually assaulted actually tell their story, actually talk to the police about what happened to them. About 30% will go and tell the police. The statistics now are stating that I believe the number is 1 in 6 women will be assaulted in their lifetime, and 1 in 71 men. And when you change the numbers to children, it gets totally different. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be assaulted before their 18th birthday. And so that's a really staggering number, that there are many people around us. When you think about it, in your workplace, in your churches, in your communities, even in your family, there are many people that are living with the horrors of sexual assault, and they won't tell, and they haven't told anyone. There's a lot of shame that's associated with that happening, even though we will say to the person that, oh, it's not your fault, you didn't make that happen to you. But again, our society still shames people inadvertently, sometimes blatantly. She shouldn't have wore that. You ever heard something like that? Her dress was too short. She was scantily clothed. She was drinking too much. And I say she because most of the time the assaults happen to women. Like I said, the number is 1 in 6 women. She shouldn't have been there. We don't teach. We in our society at times, we kind of shame the victim. We blame the victim like as if her actions would have changed the actions of another person. I recently did a paper on sexual assault, and my focus was not on women. Surprisingly, my focus is on men, and that focus is on those men who. Sorry, it's bugs out here, so I keep scratching my face. I just wanted a nice, serene environment, even though we got like things happening in the background, but it's still a really great environment for talking about such a subject. Getting back to my paper, I focused on men who are in prison. That's a population we don't talk about. How many of us have engaged in jokes about prison rape? How many of us have laughed at jokes about prison rapes? If we look at our society right now, our society is riddled with innuendo about how prison rape is the norm. And to think about it, especially African American men, at the current rate that we're going, 1 in 3, the statistics state that 1 in 3 African American men will serve some time in jail in their lifetime. 1 in 3. And I was looking at a statistic, I want to say it was in 2007, that of the over 1 million men who were incarcerated, or people, it was that particular statistic was about people. It was 1,500,000, and a little bit more than that. Of that, 70,000 had been sexually assaulted in prison. 70,000. And so when you look at that these people, these young men are being released back into the society, they're not going back telling people about what happened to them. They're not going back sharing their story, for the most part. And so they're living with the trauma of violent, brutal sexual assault that occurs in prison. And in our society, we have come to believe, or come to assume or insinuate that just comes with the territory, that's just the environment. But yet these men are experiencing great trauma while imprisoned, and they even have to take on the fault of, okay, I made this happen to me because I went to prison. But being in prison, being accused of a crime, should automatically obligate one to be sexually assaulted, to be violated in such a brutal manner. And so I looked at that population. And again, we're looking at 1 in 3. As the statistics suggest, that 1 in 3 males, African American males, will be imprisoned in their lifetime, serve some time in jail. And then you think about those same individuals being put back into the community if they haven't experienced sexual assault in prison and not receiving therapeutic intervention, not receiving treatment, and not being able to tell somebody about what occurred with them. And so one of the things I thought about in this video was break the silence. I can imagine that it's difficult to tell somebody about something like that, you know, and I'm going to share my story. And so I'm sharing with everyone. I've shared with a few people in different settings, but I'm going to share my story because I know that it's difficult to tell someone what has happened to us. Okay, and so I'm going to read it because if I start just trying to tell you about it, I'll know I will miss things. And so I just thought I'd just read it, and that way I can detach a little bit and just give you the full story. So where do I start? Okay. Often teenage and adult men who sold drugs frequented our home. As a matter of fact, a thriving drug enterprise was set up right outside our front door. These men had actual shifts that they worked in order to sell drugs in my community. I was particularly fond of the men who worked the second and third shifts. They seemed nice, strong, cool, and so many other false accolades in the eyes of a 13-year-old girl, me. One in particular, Mike, took an unusual interest in me. Mike worked the third shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Either my parents did not know or did not care that I waited for Mike to start work each night. Remember, their workstation was literally outside my door. In defense of my mom, there was a lot going on right then. I think she either didn't know or just, I don't want to say not cared, or just was preoccupied with all the other things that was going on with my father at that time. Therefore, I would just step out to talk to Mike each night. This was 27 years ago. I have no recollection of what this 19-year-old male had to discuss with me. I do remember that he was cute and I was smitten. Mike finally asked me out on a date, my first date. I eagerly accepted. To this day, I do not know why my mother allowed me to go out with him. Despite our very significant household issues, she was still a strict mother who typically taught us morals and values. In hindsight, I can only guess that my mother sort of checked out of life for a moment due to depression. Mike picked me up for a movie date as planned. During our bus ride, Mike informed me that he needed to go to his home and get something. He never specified what he needed to retrieve from his home, and in my naivety, I did not ask either. When we arrived at his home, we walked past his mother and other family members to get to his bedroom. We sat in silence for a few minutes. In the meantime, I kept wondering to myself, what did he come to get? After what seemed like an eternity, Mike, my official first date, pulled out a gun and put one bullet in it. He laughed and then put that gun to my head. Finally, I knew what he came to get, my virginity. At that very moment, I realized he was going to rape me. He also seemed to know that I knew, if that makes sense. He began to undress me and undress himself. I never said no. I never said I didn't want my first time to be like this. As a matter of fact, I did not verbalize any of my thoughts or fear or sadness, a complete non-sensual confusion. I did not even know his last name, and he was about to force me to have sex. To make matters worse, he was extremely rough with me. He held all the cards and maintained complete control over the situation. I screamed and I cried, but he did not stop. I thought for sure his mother would come back to the room, but she never came. When he was gratified, he looked at his blood-stained sheets and said, "So you were a virgin." We went to the movies with him being sexually satisfied and me being bloody and bewildered. When I finally made it home, I showered and I threw away the bloody garments. I still had not stopped bleeding, so I had to hide the evidence from my mother. I went outside to play because, again, I was 13 years old, as if nothing happened. Needless to say, I stopped meeting Mike at the beginning of his shift. I did not tell my mother about the incident until I was in my 30s. Now I can understand how that incident started a cycle of very unhealthy and emotionally abusive relationships in my life. I'm finally in a healthy place, emotionally and sexually. And now what I do is I work with teenage girls, I work with women, and I try to just empower, you know, because I think about that 13-year-old girl, you know, that was all very confusing to me. I mean, I didn't think that the most precious thing that I could give at that time to a man will be taken in such a way. And I left out some of the graphic details, but it was very painful and it was very humiliating. And there was no real connection, no real love to him. That was just another day. To me, it was a life-changing event. And so to have to go on from that point, you know, as a matter of fact, when I saw him again, I tried to avoid him, but he actually flirted with my friend only maybe a day after that happened to me. And so to him, it was nothing to it. I don't know where this young man is. I haven't seen him since the 80s. And so I don't know if it ever, you know, clicked in his head that, man, I did this. And if he did that to me, who's to say whom else he's done that to? Because that seemed to me that was a regular date. Like, he was not taking me on that date until he got what he thought he deserved for, at that time, probably a $4 movie and drinking popcorn. And so that set off something in my life, and I didn't realize it then because I was so young, and I didn't even verbalize it as rape. I didn't even verbalize it as sexual assault, because in my mind, I went on a date with him, you know, I went back to his house, and I never said no. You know, I just gave in. But as I got older and understood more, it was very much forced. It was very much coerced. And it was a traumatic experience. And so how many of us live with those experiences? Like I said, I didn't even tell my mom until I was well into my 30s. And I didn't even tell my friends until that time as well. And we cried about it. We processed it. And I'm better about it now that I can talk about it. It's still, even when I wrote this originally, I wrote it and tears began to fall. So even with that being so many years ago, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. I don't see myself as that person, but I think of a 13-year-old girl experience that. My daughter is 14, and I can't imagine my daughter, her little small frame, and I was small like that too when I was younger, but her little small frame, I can't imagine a 19-year-old boy contorting her body like what he did to me, and being so rough and being so insensitive and so disconnected to the act, and that I couldn't imagine her experiencing that. And in some other people's lives, it's worse than that. There are people that are experiencing sexual abuse or sexual assaults repeatedly. It's done by people they know, people they trusted, people they loved, and who said they loved them. And so it's so many people living with the scars of that. And I just hope that maybe someone watching this video will come out and tell their story, you know, will share with somebody that they're comfortable with, will get the treatment they need. I didn't go to get treatment, but I've been so graced in my life to have, I think my life has been treatment. You know, I've been so graced to meet people who, I'm getting emotional. I've been so graced to meet people who pour into me, you know, who pray for me, who talk to me, who have corrected me. And so from that point, I just been so graced to have people who will cover me, who protect me, who have shown me great value. So in that, I've been able to go through such a healing, restorative process. But not everybody has that. And I think, and that's why it makes me cry, because I think about the young girl who is still in that, you know, the young girl who is still in that place, and no one is validating her, and no one is showing her how valuable she is, and no one is telling her how beautiful she is and how worthy she is. It took me a while, even with the people in my life who were supportive and kind. It took me a while to understand my worth. I mean, the last maybe, I think I'm 41 now. I think since I was like 38, the last maybe 3 years of my life have been just so, not the last, I'm not going anywhere, but these past, let's say it like that, these past 3 years of my life have been so powerful. I mean, I've experienced a lot of pain. I've experienced a lot of rejection, but I've also experienced great growth. Hallelujah. Oh, see, there you go. There go that part of me. I try to keep it professional, but when I go there, I go there. But I've experienced so much, and not to say that praising God is not professional, but in this context, I wasn't trying to do that. But I've experienced just so much growth, and I've experienced so much love for me, you know, and that is so amazing. And so when I think about victims, and I'm gonna say survivors, I'm not gonna even call you a victim, survivors of sexual assault and the different things that they have to do to process, I'm hoping someone will see this and just talk to someone you love. I'm talking directly to you now. Talk to someone that you trust. If you, I don't know what age you may be, but maybe seek out treatment, you know, seek out, there are therapeutic interventions that can help you. Like I said, I've been graced with support. I've been graced with an awesome relationship with God. I just got to be real, awesome relationship with God. And so there's so many areas of my life that would not have been healed otherwise, that have been healed. And so I'm just encouraging you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm encouraging you. Talk to someone. Talk to someone you can share this with. And for me, that talking to someone has been in my prayers. It has been in journaling. Journaling has been very therapeutic for me. You know, I keep a journal with me. Anytime something happens that's monumental, I journal about it. I talk about it. And so definitely journal, seek out help, tell somebody your story. There are people within my own family that had to have the courage to tell their story, and it was very heartbreaking to hear, but I had to let that person know who told me, I believe you and I support you. And so if you're on the other end of it, if you're the parent, or if you're the friend, or if you're the support person, and someone comes to tell you they've been sexually assaulted, you have to trust that they believe what they say, and be a support system. It's not time for you to judge. It's not time for you to give your opinion about it. Be supportive. And parents, if your children come to tell you that they have been sexually abused or sexually assaulted, don't overreact. You know, listen, support, love, embrace, but don't overreact. You know, that's not the time to go, now I'm gonna go kill the person. And you, even though you may feel that inside, that's not the time to overreact, because it takes a lot of courage to tell that story. It takes a lot of courage to tell someone what has happened to you. And so I just want to just kind of break the silence. That's exactly, I just told my story. I just shared what happened to me when I was 13 years old, many years ago. And I'm very graced that I'm not that young person anymore, but I'm also not naive to know that someone is still going through that. Someone is still experiencing that. Someone still has a story that they have not told, and they're struggling with that story. They're struggling with the effects of that story, the trauma of that story. And so I encourage you to tell someone that you trust. Again, you know, there are great therapeutic interventions out here that will help you. There are spiritual interventions that can help you, but definitely break the silence. It's not your fault. I want to say that if no one else has said that, or if you're still battling with that, it's not your fault. Even though I went on a date, even though I did not say no, it was not my fault. My actions did not make that person act the way they acted towards me. And any young person out there who has been sexually abused by someone, even if someone you trust, even if someone you love, even with the manipulations that people use, it was not your fault. It is not your fault. And so I just wanted to make sure I talk to you about that. This has been a New Day broadcast for today, and I'm very grateful that you have listened in with us and left comments and likes on the page. Again, I thank you so much for your support, and I just want to leave this with you. With every new day, there still remains hope. Even though we're talking about very challenging subjects, that's why we talk about it. That's why it's not taboo. You know, you're not alone. So with every new day, there still remains hope. Have a great day.